You go? Y'all aren't going?
I got fun.
What did they got them up a good ball club. No. I'm going to start local, do Tallapoosa County, Lee County, then statewide. Oh, wow, Horseshoe Bend. Whooped Collinsville last night.
3 minutes.
Missed that one, didn't we? Who would have thought?
I wouldn't have.
$30-12. Isabella did win. I'm gonna tell you something, buddy. Elmore County not bad. Reeltown beat them 48-30.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I was at Reeltown yesterday.
Do they really?
They were all in the lunchroom when I walked in there.
That game y'all were talking about was Hewitt and Spain Park, right?
That's
yes, correct.
Yeah, just to clarify, Hewitt beat Spain Park 64-63 in 4 overtimes. Spain Park missed the extra point kick.
Yep, that was a crazy game last week.
1 2 test 1 2 test 1 2 test. I
think it's pretty good.
It sounds good to me.
Going on with this? They have turned things around a little bit, man.
Those nerves.
1 minute. 1 minute to air.
Exactly what it is.
Talladaga's turning stuff around, man. It beat Steve.
Did you decide to go ahead and put this up here? You are the man. Why don't you go ahead and get another one? Get the other one up here.
Come up here on 4 o'clock. Stand in dress sheet.
30.
Let's pull this back just a touch. No, they're down. Yeah.
15 seconds.
Official Auburn IMG Sports Network station. WKGA, Kowaliga Country, 97.5.
Now, we're talking sports. It's time for the Saturday Sport.
Okay, guys, you know the drill. When JJ gets done talking, it's all yours.
Auburn, Alabama, around the SEC and around the nation. This is the Saturday Sports Countdown. To be a part of the program, call 256-234-6221. Now, let's join Brett, Randy, and Lou for the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard this morning. 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221 here locally. Love to hear from you out there. World of sports going on. It's football in the state of Alabama. High school football last night at its peak. A lot of region matchups, if not region matchups. out-of-region games against rivals. We saw that over in Lee County as Opelika takes on Central of Phoenix City. We'll talk a lot about that. We always open up the program talking about high school sports. We love it. We're out there with AHSA Radio Network, and our Sports Blitz programming really revolves around high school sports along with Auburn and Alabama football, Brett.
Yeah, absolutely. And, high school football is so much fun, especially in this state. Of course, college football is king. No pro football in this state, so a lot of different things that you can do outside of professional sports and have a good time. But high school football, I'll start with that Opelika game. That's two teams, Randy, and I know we're going to dive into each game, but that's two teams that have been used to being in each other's region for a long time. Now with the addition of Class 7A, they aren't in the same region anymore because of the classifications, but Phoenix City and Opelika have been longtime rivals, just like all of those teams over there are. They're so close together, and we knew it was going to be a good football game, and Opelika jumped out to an early start. But typical Jamie Dubose and his teams always settle down and play good football, and they came back and won. So we'll break that one down along with some other ones. There was a great game in Dayville last night. We had a good one up here in Alex City with Benjamin Russell Stanhope. Just a sprinkling of games throughout the state that were really good.
We'd love for you to come out, be a part of our program. We're at JR Sports Bar and Grill, as we are each and every Saturday from 10 to 12. Come on out, have a great lunch. $6.99 snack wing basket with a tea is the special each and every time that you hear our Sports Blitz programming on the air. And over to you, Brett. Let's start over in the Lee County area. And last night, I guess the top game that we've already mentioned is that Opelika and Phoenix City game. And we kind of knew going in, Opelika moving down, we'll call it down to 6A, Phoenix City staying in the new 7A classification, which is the top 32 teams in the state of Alabama. Central Phoenix City ranked, I believe, number 5 currently in
That's correct.
Class 7A. Opelika ranked number 4 in 6A. You knew going in those two teams were evenly matched, and we got that. If we played 10 times, I think Opelika would win 5 of them. Phoenix City would win 5. Phoenix City comes back, scores on a late touchdown to take this one 28-21.
Coach Dubose said it last night. He said, I don't know what it is, but he said, I can tell you this. He said, this is as hungry a group of kids as I've ever coached. And he said, they want to win. They feel like every time they go on the field that they will find a way to win, and they did that last night. This Opelika team is very strong defensively. They don't allow many points, but they knew that they were going up against, and Coach Blackman over at Opelika knew he was going up against a high-powered offense in Phoenix City with a ton of great athletes, a tremendous kid over there that is committed to Louisville for Phoenix City right now that really gets everything, can kind of do everything for Coach Dubose over there. And Opelika, they set the tone early in that game, but again, you don't have a Jamie Dubose coach team down and out until the final horn, and it's hard to hold on. And they had an emotional win last week. They had to go to Prattville. It affected the kids some because they knew how important it was for Jamie Dubose to return to Prattville for the first time. That game was back and forth. We can see that Prattville is definitely on their way back to the top in 7A. But back-to-back huge games for Jamie Dubose, and they get it done over at Phoenix City. I'm telling you, they are my favorite out of the South right now in 7A. I may be proven wrong, but I know some of you out there may be going, well, don't go out on a limb out there, Brett. Well, it's his first year there. I mean, I know they've got talent, but, it takes some time sometimes to build. I really like this team and what they do when they get on the field.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. We'd love to hear from you. If you were out at some of the ball games last night, tell us what you saw. The surprising stat that I see, anybody scoring 28 points against an Opelika team, and that defense we saw here at the Sportsplex really has something special offensively. And Travion Samuel is that running back there that you're talking about. Not a huge guy, but makes plays, had that final touchdown, I believe, to put Phoenix City over the top to take that 28-21 win. You may have seen two teams that have strong capabilities of coming out of the South in both 6A and 7A.
Sure.
Spanish Fort, I would have said earlier in the season that the two teams that I would point to, look, I'm hoping, I'm a Benjamin Russell guy. We call the games there, but we've seen Opelika up close and personal. They're a very, very good football team. I felt like Spanish Fort and Opelika may end up playing one another with a chance to go. Spanish Fort's quarterback goes down. Don't count them out. We've seen players go down for them before, and they end up still in there. But Opelika shows their might here. Phoenix City's about as good as it gets here in this state.
They are. And you know, it's hard to pick out, you know, points and aspects of a team that is that good. But the one thing of seeing some of the scores and seeing Opelika up close and personal, when they go up against a good defense, they struggle sometimes offensively. They jump out on teams early, and then they falter. They can't manage to put four quarters together. And I know a couple of weeks ago against Pell City, they demolished them, and then they put some points on the board against Oxford. But against a Benjamin Russell type defense, against a Phoenix City type defense, you know, Randy, they scored a majority of their points early in that game, and then Phoenix City came back. I don't know what it is about Opelika. I mean, their defense, bar none, may be the best in Class 6A. But offensively, they struggle sometimes, and that can be a problem when you come up against a team that may be equal to you on defense and may hold you down. And, you know, I don't know what the result would have been. I know what the result was. It was 23-0 over here at the Sportsplex, but the Wildcats turned the ball over 6 times. So we saw Auburn High School turn it over 6 times last week against Enterprise, and they lost 31-17. I don't care who you play. You turn it over that many times, you give a team that many extra possessions, you're not going to have a chance to win. So Opelika and Coach Blackman, I think, have got to be thinking about what can we do to stay consistent offensively.
800-782-0108. Surprisingly enough, Opelika loses that football game. But the biggest surprise, I think, in Lee County is the continued struggles at Auburn High School. It was a tough loss for Opelika. It was a close matchup, but this Auburn team playing Sandy Creek last night over in Georgia. Was it 24-10 was the final there?
24-17. They came back and made it tough, but once again, Auburn down 14-0 early, and they find themselves in a hole. And, you know, teams that are struggling, Randy, have to come out of the gate and find positives, and they need something positive to happen. I remember several years ago when we were calling a Benjamin Russell team that couldn't seem to have anything go right. It seemed like every ball bounced against us, and it seemed like every play was you know, it didn't make sense. And you were trying to get up off the snide and you couldn't do it. And I think that's what happens here. I think this Auburn team is definitely very talented, but it just seems like everything's going against them right now. They can't get off to a good start, and they can't complete games, and they come back on teams and they fall just short. But a lot of times they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Last night, a big shocker. Prattville really takes Carver of Montgomery to the woodshed, puts 50-plus points on them. Holds Carver to 20. I believe the final score was 51-20. Unbelievable when I saw that score come across. When's the last time anybody beat a Carver team as talented as they've been over the last decade by that many points?
Well, we saw Opelika and Carver play at the beginning of the season, and it was, you know, it came down to really the last possession in that Champions Challenge matchup. Carver's had a great program the last 5 or 6 years, and you know, it's been a while. You know, if anything, it's been the opposite. It would be Prattville getting taken to the woodshed and Carver putting up 50 on them. But the roles were reversed. Hey, look, I applaud Chad Anderson because the heat was turned up very high going into this season. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And, you know, I've been over in Prattville area recruiting and talking to people over there. And a lot of people close to that football program were like, you know, it's time to get some things turned around over here. And, you know, when you follow up guys like Bill Clark and Jamie Dubose, that makes the pressure even tougher. But he's the first coach that played at Prattville to coach Prattville. He's the first coach to ever come back and coach a Prattville team. So there's a lot of love for Chad Anderson that he left Wetumpka to come over there. There's a faction of population over in Prattville, Randy, that go, oh, he went to Wetumpka. We don't want him back over here. So he had to fight both of those. But it looks like now, look, you know, the thing that cures all that, winning.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he's doing now.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221 as we continue to run down Lee County scores. We'll run into the Tallapoosa County and our region in Lake Martin as we start up the second segment of play. Beauregard off last night. I'm not seeing a score for them. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, Beauregard off, and they're playing absolutely great football here in the first part of this season, and we'll continue to run down. I'm not sure that they even have a loss on the schedule, but we'll try to run down some quick stats. More importantly, we'd love to hear from you. 800-782-0108 if you were out at some games last night. Smith Station takes down Russell County 42-14. That's a good win for Smith Station. Russell County, I guess they end up on the schedule at the perfect time.
Yeah, Smith Station needed something good to happen. This was a team that really had a tremendous 3/4 of a season last year, and it kind of fell apart for them. And then this year they've had some tough games, but Smith Station, a big school that again needed a win, needed something positive to happen, and they got that last night.
Reminder, we've got some raffle tickets up here as we head into our first break, and Justin Clayton letting us know that. We've got some Auburn and LSU raffle tickets that we'll have here at the counter at JR Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Alexander City. $2 a chance. We'll pull that one out of the hat on Tuesday night during our Sports Blitz programming. So you got a couple of more days to come up here and pick up a chance for a pair of Auburn and LSU tickets to that game. Brett, as we close out Lee County, any big surprises to you as we move forward? What would you be looking for? Opelika looks to run the region and have a good chance. I guess the one thing that surprises me, Opelika really takes it to Oxford to close out the ball game last week, and Oxford, I know we'll talk about that on the statewide side, but Oxford just demolishes Vestavia Hills 35-14. What does that say?
Well, I think it, and I'll talk about it when we come back. I think it says a couple different things. We'll discuss it when we get back.
256-234-6221 here locally. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
You're clear.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard this morning. 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221 here locally. Love to hear from you out there. We got some predictions we'll throw your way, a couple of trivia questions that we'll throw out there today. But we're going to move over to the Tallapoosa County, Lake Martin region, talking about high school sports. And we'll start it off with Benjamin Russell High School. An outstanding win over Stanhope Elmore last night, 28-7. And Brett, when Stanhope ever comes over or we go there to Millbrook, you know it's going to be a physical game. Was last night. Our 19th meeting. Now Benjamin Russell holds a lead 10-9 in the overall series. It was a great win.
Great win. You know, anytime you can, get a team like a Stanhope or have an even matchup, like you said last night in the pregame, where we were tied going into that series at 9 wins apiece. And, the deciding win last night with Benjamin Russell giving us 10 wins in the series. Now, it's been a series back and forth over the last 20 or 25 years where every so often we'll have 2-game series with them. And I started that game on the schedule before the season started. And I'm going to tell you something. I felt like that one was going to be tough. And one thing that I can say about Benjamin Russell is the last 3 weeks they've really improved offensively more than anything. Our defense has been stellar throughout, but our offense has gotten more comfortable in what they've been able to run. We've gotten more multiple on offense. Last night came out in an empty set, shotgun formation, 5 wide. The offensive line gave Tyree plenty of time to throw the football, Randy. He was comfortable after he misfired on the first pass of the game. He settled down, and, man, he was dead on target everywhere he was and threw a beautiful deep ball into the end zone last night to Cy Stowe's 38 yards for a touchdown. So, when you start to become a balanced team and teams have to guess what you're doing, if they can't creep up and really just play the run and sell out to stop the run, if you can beat them deep or beat them throwing the football, you really, really create an opportunity for your offense to continue to get better and better. So I was proud. It was a huge win. I know the record for Stanhope doesn't appear very good now, but Look at the teams they've played. They've played us now. They've played Carver. They've played Prattville. They played Spanish Fort. So Stanhope has played maybe one of the tougher schedules in high school football in the state of Alabama so far to this point.
They definitely have. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jerome in Alexander City, you're on Sports Blitz.
Hey, man, I enjoyed the ball game last night. Very good game. My first one to the game because, I started working some, so now I'm kind of working some, but I enjoyed that. It was a very good game. I mean, we had a good crowd, but I think we kind of sliced up a little bit in that third quarter. It seemed like the third quarter was a bad quarter for us, but I mean, we struggled a little bit. I think us and Stanhope both kind of struggled in the third quarter, but all in all, it turned out to be good. And but how do you think we'll do against Oxford? And I'm going to kind of hang up and listen to y'all. I gave my prediction yesterday. I went by LMG and talked to the guy, and I bought tickets to win that Auburn and LSU game. My luck, I'll win it. But anyway, y'all do a great job. My hat goes off. I'm proud of Atlanta City. And, hey, let's keep going. Let's go. All the rest of the game is air game. So what do y'all think our best chances of winning? And anyway, y'all have a good day and roll tide.
Thanks so much for you, Jerome. 800-782-0108. We're going to talk about that. And Oxford takes down Vestavia Hills 35-14 last night. They're a very good team. They're a talented team. They're a winning program, I think, is the most important thing that you say there. And it's no different than playing any of an Opelika coming over or a Benjamin Russell coming to your place. Our programs, after a while, when you've won as much as we have, we expect to win every Friday night. And Oxford's going to do that next week. And those are the type of games that you want, honestly. Those are the games that you get up for as players. Those are the games that they'll travel well. I was a little surprised last night.
A little disappointed.
How small the crowd was across the way. Maybe it's because of the record. I'm sure it is. We've seen that around here when we've struggled time to time. But normally Stanhope travels very well, and they support their team. But Oxford here this next Friday night is going to be a great game, Brett.
It is, and you were talking about the win they had last night over Vestavia, and look, Oxford, you can't compare from week to week. I've been the one that said that more than anybody on this program when you're talking about college or high school football. But I will say this: look, it's a big win for Oxford to beat Vestavia, but this isn't Vestavia of the last few years. Vestavia is 2-3 on the season. They win opening week against Homewood in a game that they've won more times than not, opening up 17-7 over Homewood, and then they lose to Oak Mountain 14-7. But here's a weird one: they beat Hewitt-Trussville 14-3. Look what Hewitt-Trussville's done the last 2 or 3 weeks. But again, teams can get better; they can find ways to win, and that's what they've done. But then they lose to Mountain Brook 14-11, and of course, last night to Oxford 35-14. So if you want to look at that and say, "Oh, that's just an outstanding win," it is Vestavia, but it's not the Vestavia of old. Oxford has shown some weaknesses early in the season, and against Valley and against some teams that you would have thought, man, they would just go in there and take them to the woodshed, and they didn't do it. What you got to do if you're Benjamin Russell is not worry about all that stuff that we're talking about today. You look at Oxford like, man, they're a top program. They're in our region. We're 1-1. We need to go in there. We've got them at home. We need to win it because we got some tough games coming up after them. So I look forward to a really good game. They're high-powered offense. They can throw the ball. This will be 3 weeks in a row the Wildcat secondary will be tested.
Lake Martin area, can't get 2 teams that are more evenly matched, I don't believe, in the last couple of years than Davil and Tallassee. Last year was a barn burner. Tallassee defeats Davil on the road. Davil returns the favor this year. A defensive struggle last night. 14-11, Davil gets the win. Cal Jones was the story for Davil. He had 120-plus yards rushing, actually 128 yards rushing on 20 carries. That's what Davil needed. They needed to find something positive offensively. They've been playing outstanding defense all season long. They hold down Brandon Baines, who currently leads the state in rushing. He had 30 carries for 133 yards last night. Holding him to that, holding him to about 4 or 5 yards per carry, that's all that you needed to do for Davil, but you had to find some offense. You had to put those 2 scores on the board. That's where the problem has been, so congratulations to the Tigers.
Yeah, Brandon Baines averaging 271 yards a game rushing, so when you hold him to 130, you can tell 30 times he touched the football, so he is their offense. Coach Mask talked about it on the Lake Martin Sports Roundup show Tuesday, Randy. He said he was concerned with the size differential. He said Davil's big and they're physical and they're real quick on defense. And he said, frankly, we're just not. He said, and he was really concerned with that. Obviously, they fought hard and made it a close game. Davil had to have a goal line stand earlier in the game to make it the score that it was. So Tallassee, Davil, just 2 really, really good football teams going at one another. Davil probably needed to win more than Tallassee did.
Huge game last night. Congratulations to the Horseshoe Bend Generals. They take down Collinsville 30-12. Great game so far and a great year so far overall for Drew Hill. He had 3 touchdown runs last night, and that's a big win. Congratulations to Horseshoe Bend on a big win over Collinsville 30-12 last night. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear. 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard. Beautiful downtown Alexander City at JR Sports Bar and Grill. Love for you to come out, have a great lunch with us. $6.99 snack wing or snack finger basket with a tea is the special each and every time you hear Sports Blitz on the air. Let's go back to the phone lines. Chad McKelvey, you're on Sports Blitz.
Hey, good morning, guys. What a big win in Dadeville last night for the Dadeville Tigers, taking down Tallahassee on a rivalry football game.
Chad, it was an outstanding game, and we appreciate you calling in as you were out calling the game. And I guess the first place I would start is offensively. Looks like Dadeville found something. Cal Jones had an outstanding game, 20 carries for 128 yards, and just 2 scores. We had 14 points on the board, and that's all Dadeville needed last night.
Yeah, this offense has really started clicking in the last few weeks. Found some unity there in that offensive line, and really got some things organized, ironed out some problems that we were facing there earlier in the year, some communication issues along that front. And when those 5 guys can pull off the blocks, the Tigers have got Jones and Pearson in the backfield, and they can really do some damage. And Cal Jones has really improved in making those reads that Coach Jones is asking him to make. And if you key on DJ Pearson, Cal Jones will make you pay without a doubt.
Chad, I'd love to hear from you. Most of the people, especially in this area and a lot around the state, know how good Dadeville's defense is, know how talented you are on that side of the ball. Can you give all of us that haven't had a chance to watch you as much as you have an idea who has really stood out for you on the Dadeville defense this year?
Well, without a doubt, Anthony Jennings had a big game last night. Really shut down that Tallahassee rushing attack. Showed up, made some big plays on a 3rd and 4th down with deflections getting in the face of the quarterback, and so he had a big night last night. But guys like Jaquan Alves playing the defensive end for the Tigers. He's extremely quick and gets great penetration into the backfield. And teams that have tried to run east and west on the Dadeville Tigers have found tough sledding there as well, because they can get sideline to sideline. Carson McClendon and Trey Johnson at the middle linebacker position really playing tough and physical. And so this Tiger defense, I think, where we're at now, we're pretty confident we've stopped the run against some good rushing attacks and can put pressure on the quarterback when it's time for them to throw. But we really haven't seen a good, efficient passing game yet. So I think that's really the only question I would have from here on out is how can our secondary hold up against a team that's going to throw the ball around a good bit.
Chad, one more thing before we let you go. Offensively for Dadeville, if I were a Dadeville fan, I wouldn't be concerned with my defense, because you guys are playing really well against whoever it is that you guys are matching up against. But offensively, I think you guys would agree that the point total just hasn't been there like you would like for it to be. And I just took something out of a statement you made just a minute ago. You said when the guys up front come together, you got some talent back there that can run the football. Do you feel like that's where the issue might be, is maybe not getting it done as much up front as you would like to on the offensive line?
Well, I think when you combine the fact that you got a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback, new running back, and you put all those things together. Even though the offense looks similar, anytime you have a change like that, there are minor changes, and guys have to adjust to it. So I think all of that combined. But anytime you start talking about the offensive side of the football, it's always those big guys up front that make or break you, and it's easy to forget about them when receivers or quarterbacks start putting up big numbers. But you got to have time to throw the ball, and you got to have lanes to run through. And it'll always go back to those 5 guys up front. And they've certainly improved over the last few weeks.
Chad, congratulations to y'all. An outstanding win for Dadeville. Y'all moved to 3-2 on the season. Big schedule looking forward, and always a tough schedule for Dadeville. And we'll be cheering for you and hoping that Dadeville can get over the hump this year. It's been so close the last 5 or 6 years at least. UMS Wright sat down there and really been in the side of Dable. But we're hoping that as good as the defense is playing and as good as the offense is turning around, that Dable can get over the hump this year.
All right, thanks, guys. Enjoy the show. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate that. And, I just feel that way. Sometimes it does take a little while offensively, but when you can lean back, it's the same with Benjamin Russell, the exact same, really. We know we've got a defense that's as good as anybody we go up against. Can the offense continue to progress? And we've seen that here in Alexander City.
We have, for our team, we have seen a marked improvement offensively. And, I think if you're Dable and Benjamin Russell both, you got to be – that's where your focus has to be. And I think Tyree for Benjamin Russell has settled down. Maybe that's a game Cal needed last night to get a little bit more confidence in running the football. And but he's right. The one thing that I've impressed with Benjamin Russell is our offensive line. I think our offensive line has done a really, really good job of holding their own. And, as far as – but I just caught what Chad said early there in when you asked that first question is that – and he's so right, because I said it last night on the broadcast. You can have outstanding skill position players. You can have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but if they're not blocking for you, they're not going to put up numbers. So maybe Dable from this point on will continue to improve offensively.
Quick scores around the state as we close out the high school segment of the program. Reeltown takes down Elmore County 48-30. Isabella 35-17 over Central of Coosa last night. Montgomery Catholic takes down Hopeville 18-0. Prattville Christian continues their struggles this year as they lose to Billingsley 42-0. And Edgewood, a 50-game winning streak now, they take down Lakeside 67-6.
Yeah, I'll run down some scores of note in 7A, 6A, and 5A here. And if you have somebody that you would like to mention or you would like for us to talk about, give us a call. I'll start with Hewitt-Trussville over Gadsden City. As I just mentioned earlier, Vestavia beat them earlier in the season 14-3, and then now they have turned around, won a 5 overtime or 4 overtime game against Spain Park. When both teams scored in the 60s, Hewitt-Trussville wins 31-27 over a Gadsden City team that I really thought might have been making their mark as the best team in the North in 7A. As we just mentioned, Phoenix City over Opelika 28-21. Foley gets a big win, 31-13 over Robertsdale in the Baldwin County area. You mentioned earlier Smith Station won 42-14 over Russell County, and that Prattville Carver score is still kind of mind-blowing. 52-20 winners over Carver there. Moving up to 6A, we'll run down some scores there as Florence defeated Bob Jones. Ever since, and Bob Jones is in 7A, and ever since Bob Jones was ranked number 1, Randy, they've lost. So Bob Jones falls to Florence. I started that Tuesday night. I said, you better watch that game, see how that one plays out. Hillcrest Tuscaloosa wins over Tuscaloosa County 24-19. As you move on down, Muscle Shoals goes across the state line to play Haywood, Tennessee, and they win big, 56-7. Oxford, as we mentioned earlier, defeats Vestavia 35-14. Parks Crossing, Smitty Grider, who was the Beauregard coach, now down there in Montgomery, they get another win, 24-7 over St. James.
We'll close out the high school segment. The remainder, an hour and about 20 minutes of the program. If you want to call in and talk about high school sports, we'd love to talk to you. Going to move over and talk about Auburn and Alabama and the remainder of the SEC as we close out the show today. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard this morning. Beautiful downtown Alexander City at JR Sports Bar and Grill, where we are just about each and every day of the week. We're up here parts of the time with Sports Call that we have when we're locally here in the Lake Martin area, and Sports Blitz on Tuesday and Saturday. And we love this program as we're heading into college football today. That's what we'll move into. A nice highlight of high school football last night. So if you've got some comments about some games, we'd love to hear from you. But we're going to move over into the college game. Alabama off today. So let's start, Brett. And when you start with Alabama, you got to start with last Saturday's impressive win over Florida. Coming into the season, you and I, two Auburn fans, watching Alabama, kind of hoping, I have to say, that the offense is going to have its struggles. Not what you saw last weekend. Blake Sims looked outstanding at quarterback.
Yeah, he did. And, throwing the football, and let me just say this, the run game for Alabama struggled early. A lot of the naysayers out there better be glad Blake Sims was the quarterback and could scramble and move around and throw the ball as well as he did, because early in that game it was sloppy, turnovers on both sides. That's how Florida scored their points. And probably the most impressive thing, if you're looking at it from a objective point of view, the most impressive thing about the game is Alabama won convincingly and turned the ball over as many times as they did. So most of the time you turn the ball over like that, you lose. And they didn't do that. They won convincingly. So that's got to be a positive in the column for Alabama. On the flip side for Florida, I said this yesterday and the day before on Sports Call. Will Muschamp, there's no need to wait till the end of the season. Go ahead and start getting stuff out of your chest of drawers, taking stuff out of your closet, and packing up your stuff at home, because you're not going to be the head coach at Florida at the end of the year. It's not going to happen. They've got to make a move. Ever since the 11-2 season, I told you way back when, I said I thought that season was smoke and mirrors. I said time would only tell. He doesn't have it, Randy. They can't do anything offensively. They've changed coordinators. They are what we have termed a dumpster fire in Florida, and the fans down there have had enough. The patience is worn thin.
I'll say this also: the defense is kind of skid by without getting all of the negative press that the offense has gotten from Florida in the last couple of weeks. Not only Alabama, but Kentucky really showed some deficiencies on Florida's defense. And last week, I want to go back and give a few more positive props towards Alabama. Blake Sims, if there's one thing that this guy does, and I like about this Alabama offense, they're going to put you on the defense back there in the secondary. They're going to give Amari Cooper the opportunity to get the ball in his hands 10 or 12 times a game. Over the years, whether it be Auburn, especially Alabama with Julio Jones, I've got to say, a lot of times I didn't feel like they benefited from having the best player in the conference a lot of times by not getting the football in his hands enough. I don't think you'll see that with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's already decided, yes, I know he's the best player that we've got on our team. I got to find a way to do it. And the thing I like about Blake Sims is he throws a catchable deep ball. And when you're skill position than their secondary, give them a chance to go up and make a play for it. If you coach them well enough, they can bat the ball away on a bad pass or an underthrown pass. So I like it. It reminds me a little bit of the Washington Redskins team, if you remember Mark Rippon being the quarterback that went through and won the Super Bowl. And that team just decided, I'm going to throw the ball down the field. I'm going to take some shots down the field. I'm going to hit Art Monk down the field and a number of those other receivers. Good luck. Ricky Sanders was also on that team, if you remember. Alabama's offense in the early going reminds me of that.
If you have a quarterback that can get it out there and you have a playmaker like Amari Cooper, what is the harm in you really selling yourself short offensively if you don't have it in your game plan to go deep 5 to 7 times a game? Why not? Because if they pick it off, so be it. It's like a punt. So more good things can happen than not. I know that's very opposite of what we hear when you throw the ball. 2 of the 3 things that can happen are bad when you throw it, but not when you're throwing it deep and you have an advantage. A quarterback that got there and a receiver that's going to make moves and make separation between he and the cornerback, and even when he's got good coverage, can go up over the top and make the catch. So you're really selling yourself short. And then Nick Saban kind of got a little defensive this week. I can understand what he was saying. He said, have you finally taken the – somebody asked him, have you finally taken the reins off and let Lane Kiffin loose with this offense? He said, look, we were doing the things that we felt like we needed to do the last 3 or 4 years to be successful. We had a good running game, so we ran the football. He said, yes, we know that we can throw the ball, and Lane Kiffin has always had the green light to do whatever. He said, I've always wanted our offensive coordinators around here to have the green light to do whatever they felt like. He said, yeah, have we been conservative a little bit? Probably so. He said, that was just the makeup of our teams. Now you can see that added dimension. We're seeing an Alabama offense we hadn't seen in 15 years.
Yeah, I can't remember the last one that we saw like this, and it should be interesting. Look, I'm still no Lane Kiffin fan.
But he is good offensively.
1 or 2 weeks, and we'll see. I still hope he's got a Lane Kiffin in him. But I have to tip my hat, even as an Auburn fan, at how impressive the last couple of weeks and how impressive Blake Sims has been. And also, it's a good time to say this because Jameis Winston has been in the press and all this negative talk around college and professional sports. It's good to see a guy that's hung in there 5 years, hasn't had a lot of positive press thrown his way, finally gets his start. Looked like 2 weeks leading into the season, everyone that I knew that was an Alabama fan wanted Jake Coker to be the starting quarterback, including members of our team that call this. We felt like that he was going to be. And Blake Sims ends up getting the nod, and he has handled himself so extremely well out there on the field. It's a positive story, and I think it needs to be talked about a little bit more.
No, he is the epitome of what needs to be talked about in college football, and ESPN went the opposite of that last Saturday when they showed Jameis Winston 48 times. I mean, you're encouraging the bad behavior and the bad pub when you show a guy that violated rules and is suspended and you put the camera on him more than you do the game. Blake Sims is a positive story, and it is a positive story for Alabama because I would dare say that 80% of that fan base wanted to see Jake Coker, and it was just built up by the media that, oh, he's transferring from Florida State. We're just going to all of a sudden, crown him the starting quarterback. And I'll have to give Nick Saban credit. We all thought it was coach speak that he was going, well, there's a quarterback battle. We were going, no, there's really not. He's just saying that to keep the peace. We found out now that there really was a quarterback battle going on and that Jake Coker transferring just didn't automatically get him the job. And we all thought that.
Let's go quickly to the prediction today. Love to hear from you. The remainder, about an hour and 15 minutes left here on the program. Call in. The prediction today is Arkansas and Texas A&M. Give us the score there. Kenny Hill passing yards will be the tiebreaker. And, again, we always give away great prizes. You can go out to our social media outlets and get your score in there. You can call in here and give your score. 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
There is no sound.
All right, so Deborah in Alex City is first. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard. Got about an hour and 10 minutes left here on the program. Let's quickly go back to the phone lines. Deborah in Alexander City, you're on Sports Blitz. Deborah, you there with us?
I'm right here.
You got a prediction for us today, Deborah?
I got a prediction. Arkansas 28, Texas A&M 24.
Wow, good score there. How many passing yards for Kenny Hill for Texas A&M?
Kenny Hill should run about 280 yards.
280 yards. Deborah, thank you so much for your phone call today.
Okay.
We'll get it down, 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. We've got several phone calls coming in, and we appreciate all of our great callers here. And let's quickly go back to the phone line again. Caller, you're on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Yes, caller, you there with us?
Yes, sir. I got a prediction. Texas A&M 49, Arkansas 20, Kenny Hill 317 yards.
Who are we talking to today?
Jeff from Alex City.
Jeff, thanks so much for your phone call today, buddy. Look forward to hearing from you every weekend.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, too. 256-234-6221. Let's talk about this game just a bit as we get some phone calls coming in. I think it's a nice matchup. I really do. I think Arkansas, if they can play the way that they did the first half against Auburn, and they continue to play and run the football the way that they have the last couple of weeks against some pretty decent teams, I think Arkansas can at least handle them up front. Now, can Kenny Hill continue to come out and throw for 400-plus yards and put up 40-plus points? Can Arkansas hold up? They didn't against Auburn, so that's one team to watch for, but I'm looking forward to this game today.
Well, the scary thing if you're an Arkansas fan is that it sets up to be like the Auburn game. And, you know, Auburn without Nick Marshall in the first half, Jeremy Johnson was pinpoint precision in the secondary. I think he completed his first 8 passes. We were tied at 21 apiece, though. Arkansas was able to run the football and control their side of the thing. In the second half, they were one mistake away from things getting out of hand and making them panic, and they did. They threw an interception, a pick 6. Auburn went up 2 scores. Now, all of a sudden, Arkansas gets panicked. They start throwing the ball with Brandon Allen. That's not their strength. They end up going 3 and out. Auburn gets the ball back, score again. Now they're down 3 scores. That's what they've got to work against today. Arkansas is a good running football team. They have a bigger offensive line than 9 NFL teams, Randy. 9 NFL teams have a bigger offensive line than. So what they got to do is if Texas A&M jumps out 10 to 14 points, they don't need to panic. They need to continue to do what they've got to do to stay in this game. And I think Arkansas may be the most improved team through 4 games that we've seen right now, but I don't think they have enough yet to beat this Texas A&M team. I think Texas A&M ends up getting it done because they are so good. You saw Auburn torch Arkansas in the secondary. Texas A&M is going to do the same thing.
We'd love to hear from you, your prediction in that football game today, 256-234-6221. Passing yards for Kenny Hill. Texas A&M will be the tiebreaker. Let's move over to talk about Auburn. Louisiana Tech is at Auburn, number 5 Auburn today. Should be a great matchup there. Louisiana Tech always a little scary to me. It's a team that's not quite it's not Louisiana Monroe or Lafayette. Tech has somewhat of a history and has given us some problems in the past. Let's hope none today. What are you looking forward to in watching in this ball game today, Brett?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Auburn put points on the board and being able to get back in sync offensively. Nick Marshall's got to improve, Randy. He's got to improve, and the receivers have got to help him. Okay, he's not the most deadly accurate passer out there, but when he does get it in range of catching it, you got to snag it, Sammy Coates. And if he's 80% and doesn't need to be out there playing, we had a call yesterday on Sports Call. Well, why is Sammy Coates out there playing with this deep receiving core if he's not healthy? It's a good question. Why aren't we throwing to Marcus Davis? Where is C.J. Uzoma? Where is all of these highly touted receivers that we have? We're not mixing the ball. I just think sometimes Gus Malzahn, I'm not being overly critical. I do wonder, and I've heard other Auburn fans ask this, Randy, I want your take. Why aren't we a little bit more creative? And I think Gus Malzahn said it this past week. He said, I was stubborn. I wanted to prove that we could run the ball between the tackles. And you know what? Kansas State just decided not to let them do that. Why don't we do more with the weapons we have?
I worry about the deep passing game for Auburn. This past week, Sammy Coates 2 or 3 times open down the field,
just
down the right, and just overthrowing deep pass routes.
Reminded me of Brody Kroll at Alabama. He could never hit a deep pass.
Yeah, not giving your receiver a chance. That's the thing I said about Blake Sims that I really like. It's a catchable ball that he throws up. It's got a lot of air under it. His receiver, Amari Cooper mainly being the main guy, is a better athlete than any of the secondary players he's going up against. He's taller, he's more athletic, and he can go make a play on the ball. And if it's underthrown, knock it away. I like our chances with Sammy Coates. I mean, going into this season, he was considered the biggest freak in college football. His size, his strength, his vertical leap, his
everything,
his speed. This guy is a freak on the football field. Now, he dropped some balls yesterday, but we've been unable to hit him. I agree with you. I'm a big Nick Marshall supporter. Last year, he won me over, especially in that Texas A&M game. He's got a demeanor. He's got a way that he carries himself. Late in football games, he finds a way to make plays to win the game for you. You just want him on the field.
Sure.
But he needs to throw the ball better. We all would agree with that. And the sad thing is you don't ever want to look over to the backup and say, boy, I want the backup. I don't really feel that way right now. I just like to see Nick play a little bit better because I do know there's a guy standing over there that I think's got NFL talent to throw the football. These receivers that we've got at Auburn,
we're loaded.
We're loaded at receiver. If it takes a game, it's just a feel. If we're unable to run the football and we got to go to the passing game, I feel better with Jeremy Johnson in there to do it.
Yeah, Marcus Davis, Tony Stevens, C.J. Uzoma, Ricardo Lewis, Sammy Coates, DeQuil Williams. The list goes on and on and on and on. And Nick Marshall is staring down to Quill Williams, and I'm okay with that because he's a playmaker, and I know Sammy Coates is out. But and I left out Melvin Ray, who made a touchdown catch in the first game against Arkansas, and we hadn't heard. Is Tony Stevens even on the team anymore? I mean, does he play? I mean, where are these guys? And there is a reason who's playing is who's playing. But I know for a fact C.J. Uzoma is an NFL talent. He caught 9 passes last year. Randy, 4 of them were for touchdowns. He is a high percentage guy, is a hard guy to cover. I just don't think we are as creative as we need to be.
Well, I don't think we need to be if we can get back to running the football the way that we did last year. I like the idea of doing simple things and continuing to keep it simple. Even sometimes in the national championship game, I was like, just run the football. Just run it, run it, run it. I mean, it was working all season last year. Go back to it. Just continue to let it flow for you. It's not flowed this year. For whatever reason, could be some different parts on the offensive front. That could be the problem.
I think that's a problem.
It could be just misreads by Nick Marshall that we didn't see last year. I don't know. I'm not a coach. I just sit up here and I'm a talking head like many of the fans that are sitting out there and asking the same questions. But if you can't get back to the running game that you saw last year, the beauty of being an Auburn fan this year is that we're not solely dependent on that. We've done a great job recruiting. Coach Malzahn's done a great job bringing in talent and getting them out there on the field where you have options. And once you have options, and if it's a decision that has to be made that we got to go to this passing game, like Alabama's pretty much decided that they need to do, like multiple other teams here in the conference have decided they've got to really go after their skill players on the outside, I think we've got a player over there sitting there that can get it done for us.
I got a question for you I want you to answer when we get back. Who's got the best backup quarterback in the country right now?
I definitely think it's us. But
okay, well, what does that give you? And I'll bring that up because we talked about that yesterday. Who's got the best quarterback or backup quarterback in the country? And I think that's a big deal because – and I'll tell you why it's a big deal when we come back.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. Arkansas, Texas A&M prediction. Kenny Hill passing yards will be the tiebreaker. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear.
back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. I'm Randy Lee alongside Brett Pritchard. We've got 2 games already underway this morning, SEC games. Tennessee at 2-1. At number 12, Georgia 2-1. That one kicked off. It's on ESPN. On the SEC network this morning, Vandy 1-3 at Kentucky 2-1. Vandy looked like they had some life at least last week against South Carolina. I don't know if you listen to the old ball coach, he'll tell you that it was because South Carolina wasn't ready to play and maybe not as good as everybody had talked them up to be this year. But Vandy looked decent last week, at least.
They did. 2 special team scores by Vandy made that score a little bit closer than it should have been. But Tennessee moving the ball right now on Georgia early in this game. Randy, I want to go back to what we were talking about before we went to break. In the playoff committee rules, they have or guidelines, not really rules, or guidelines of what they might go by. If a player on a team, a very important player, let's just say a Jameis Winston on Florida State, gets down to the ACC championship game, let's say Florida State's undefeated. They win the game, but let's say Jameis Winston goes out in the third quarter with a knee injury or whatever it is. Then the committee may look, even though they're undefeated and even though they're up there in the top rankings, they're not going to look at polls, by the way, so you can just throw that out. They're going to analyze the situation, and they're going to go, well, man, he is like the main cog of that team. We're not going to put them in the playoffs because we think that's so impactful that they're not the same team without him. They're not a 13-0 team that they were throughout the year with him. So we're going to keep them out. Do you agree or disagree with that stipulation?
I agree. I think that if it becomes very closely related teams like number 4 versus number 5 and 6, and you can't tell them apart, strength of schedule is about the same, then you've got to have some kind of criteria that says, yes, they're one of their major players, and this team's not going to be the same without him. I know that you didn't like it. I like it. I would bet there's about
50-50 on it.
I bet most of the country is around 50-50 on that because it's sad for the team.
That's
what it is, though. And if your team is built around one key player, and no teams are built, or we all like to say,
but they are.
No teams are built around
Cam
one
Newton,
player.
Auburn in 2010.
That's about
if he'd have gone down.
That's about as clear cut as you can get.
It really is. So it leads me to the other point we were making. Who's the best backup quarterback in college football? Now, let's say Nick Marshall goes out and Auburn wins the SEC championship. And Nick Marshall goes down. I don't think the committee keeps Auburn out because they look over at Jeremy Johnson and go, man, this guy may be better than Nick Marshall in a lot of ways. And I don't think any Auburn fan that's listening headed down 280 right now. And if you disagree, call us. Give us a call, 256-234-6221 to be part of the program. If Nick Marshall, and we don't want anything to happen to him, but if he went out today, I wouldn't panic, Randy. I wouldn't say, well, the season's over. I would think Auburn's got just as good a chance to win out as they do right now with Nick Marshall in at quarterback.
Good points. Love to hear from you out there. 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. Our prediction today is Arkansas and Texas A&M. Huge game, and I'll bring this up because how good is the SEC West this year? Before the season, we knew it was the strongest division in college football, but I brought this up on Sports Call on Wednesday with Andy. It's tougher now that the season has moved in to get to week 5 or week 6 than it was to kick the thing off. Texas A&M's better than I ever thought they'd be.
Sure.
Mississippi State's better than I thought they'd be. Ole Miss, I thought, would at least have struggled up to this point. They haven't had a close football game. So a few of the teams that I thought were sitting there in the middle, and I haven't even brought up LSU, Auburn, and Alabama yet. Yeah. A few of the teams sitting there in the middle I think are better than I expected them to be to kick the season off. It's unreal what we're dealing with on the SEC West.
We had Arkansas picked last. If Arkansas and LSU were to play today, who would you have?
I don't know. I'd take, if I got points with Arkansas, I'd take Arkansas.
So would you have thought 4 weeks into the year you would even said that? I think everybody oversold LSU. I think we all severely undersold Arkansas and Mississippi State. And I think Auburn and Alabama are sitting about where we thought they would be sitting right now. And even though Alabama, the question marks were around quarterback, that they would figure it out and they would continue to play dominant defense, which they have, and they would keep their team up there. But the West right now, it's really stupid how tough this division is. And somebody's going to have to finish last in this division. The unfortunate thing is all these teams in the West are ranked and are going to be ranked or have the opportunity to be ranked, but they're all going to beat each other up, Randy. That's the crazy thing about it. I mean, there is realistically that each team would have at least 2 losses in the West. I mean, that's realistically, and they could actually beat themselves up to the point where they could keep somebody out of the 4-team playoff. But you look at college football as a whole. I said this on Sports Call 2 days ago. I said, all right, who's the best? We know the West is the best division. Okay, so who's the best team in college football? Is the best team in the Western Division, or is there somebody in the country, an Oklahoma or somebody else out there that you feel like might be the best team in the country?
I just don't believe it. I think the best team's going to come out of the West. I don't think Florida State is anywhere near as good. I think that the dynamic around that team, the chemistry around
There's
that
something
team
missing.
is missing
I know
right
what
now.
it is.
Well, you can say what it is, but they lost some great players, Brett.
Yeah.
Defensively, they lost some outstanding
No, I agree
players.
with that.
And when you
Lost
lose
Kelvin Benjamin. too.
Kelvin Benjamin is the playmaker also. Won that football game against Auburn. Wasn't the only player, but, I mean, they've got some pieces in place along with Jameis Winston. But when you run for 13 yards against a Clemson team that was gashed by Georgia. We all thought Georgia was the next coming. Herschel Walker was in the backfield.
Ready to
Bo
give him
Jackson
the Heisman.
was backing him up. Georgia had 3 of the best running backs. All of them going to go in the first round of the NFL draft. I mean, we had gone on ahead and put the crown on Georgia after that game against Clemson. And Clemson gives up 13 yards against Florida State. That's an issue. Jameis Winston's not the issue there, I don't believe. I mean, he didn't play in that ball game. Yes, they may have scored a little bit more with him back there. I think, yes, they wouldn't have been as close. But it didn't change the fact they can't run but more than 13 yards.
No, it doesn't. I think Clemson sold out a little bit more because a new quarterback in there, and it's tough to step in a situation like he did. But one of the things that you can attribute that we don't have eyes on or ears on is what the chemistry and what the feel is with this team off the field. How much is all this Jameis Winston stuff starting to affect them? And is Florida State kind of collapsing under their own pressure? Because they are the number 1 team. They're the defending national champs. They're in the spotlight. So many people are negative on them. You can kind of start to feel the weight a little bit on your shoulders if you're a Florida State player.
Let me give you quickly, how good is the SEC West? Each of the SEC West teams rank in the top 20 of ESPN's Football Power Index, which is more teams than the Big 12, Big 10, and the ACC have combined. The top 3 teams in the Football Power Index are from the SEC West. Number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Texas A&M. Number 3, Auburn. Does that answer it for you?
It does. I mean, I'm not even going to bring up an argument for anybody against the Western Division. It's tremendous, tough conference. Georgia, a 17-point favorite over Tennessee today. Tennessee strikes first. They're on the board 3-0.
Prediction today, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Kenny Hill passing yards will be the tiebreaker. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. We're live on location at JR Sports Bar and Grill in beautiful downtown Alexander City, as we are each and every Saturday from 10 to 12. Love for you to come out, have a snack wing basket, $6.99 with a tea is the special each and every time we're on the air. And they've got some great happy hour specials, 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. We're up here majority of the days doing Sports Call Auburn, and love for you to come in, sit around, be part of the program. You can send us some questions up. We'd love to hear from you out here, and they've got some great specials during the happy hour, so come on out to JR Sports Bar and Grill. Our prediction today is Arkansas, Texas A&M. Kenny Hill passing yards will be the tiebreaker. I thought I was going to be able to give you a score update as Kentucky looked like they were going in for a touchdown against Vandy.
Well, they signaled a touchdown. And
touchdown was signaled, but the ball was stripped at the goal line. We'll give you an update quickly on the opposite side. Tennessee leads Georgia 3-0 in the early going. So those two games are underway. Some other big games around the country. Our prediction is Arkansas 3-1 versus Texas A&M. That one will kick off at 2:30. That's going to be a great football game. And Brett, we've talked a bit about that. It's a different dynamic there. You've got Brett Bielema and that great offensive line and that huge offensive line with those great running backs for Arkansas against Kevin Sumlin and the pass-happy Kenny Hill and fun and gun offense that you see at Texas A&M. Should be a great game. I want to move over to one that's of interest to you. Cincinnati, Coach Tommy Tuberville there at Ohio State, 2-1. That's at 5 p.m. this afternoon. It's going to be a great game.
It really is. And you look at the point spread, and it doesn't show that. It's a 17.5-point favorite for Ohio State at home. And well, where are they getting that from? I know Las Vegas, they don't miss it much, but they're a 17.5-point favorite. This is what Tommy Tuberville made his living on at Auburn. This is what he loved to do. He loved the marquee matchup. He loved to go play a team that they weren't supposed to beat. And even Ohio State's not in the top 10. They're a top 22 team. They're number 22, actually. They'll go in there, Randy, and that was what Tuberville was known for at Auburn, is they would play their socks off and they would beat a team in the top 10. His record against top 10 opponents was immaculate. And we go lay an egg against somebody we were supposed to beat, an Arkansas team that came in there that year, wasn't ranked. We were highly ranked. And good Lord, Fred Talley just looked like an absolute 3-time All-American, 3-time Heisman winner. You know, that's just Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. This is what Tuberville does the best job of getting his teams up to play. Cincinnati will be ready tonight. I think he's got a chance to shine once again on a national stage.
Another SEC East game that's of interest today. Missouri, who loses a squeaker last week, they're at 3-1. They're on the road at 3-1. South Carolina, that's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde team also. South Carolina, what are they? Are they going to get back in the mix in the East? We'll see. Time will tell. Texas A&M really took it to them early part of this season, but they haven't looked great since then to me.
They haven't looked anywhere near like the team that we all thought South Carolina would be, and I think that opening game took something out of them. They are 3-1, and I think that they have to understand if they're going to be in that East race, Randy, they can't even afford to slip up anymore. So Missouri comes in. Look, everybody on the shows throughout the week, David Pollock, Brian Greasy, Mark May, all those guys pick Missouri. Every one of them think that Missouri, after losing at home to Indiana, which ought to put you on the borderline of being barred from being in the SEC anymore, ought to get you banished for losing a game at home to a team like Indiana. They think that Missouri's going to go on the road and beat this team in Columbia. So
it's a mouthful.
It really is. So that tells me that I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. I feel like South Carolina gets it done at home against Missouri because I feel like the urgency's there. Maybe Spurrier has gotten it across his team. Look, we can't slip up anymore. Y'all guys have played like crap the last 2 or 3 weeks. You need to turn it around, start playing like the team we need to be.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221 here locally. Call in. The prediction today is Arkansas, Texas A&M, Kenny Hill passing yards will be the tiebreaker. Let's move over. We got about 40 minutes left in the program. Let's talk a lot about Auburn, talk a lot about this Louisiana Tech game. We have already mentioned and talked a complete segment about Alabama, so if any of you Alabama fans want to call in and discuss that, discuss the Alabama team and the great play that they had against Florida last weekend. Rest of the show, we're going to talk about this. It's homecoming at Auburn. I want to start with, I guess, the question of the week on Sports Call. That 1989 team, the play against Florida 25 years ago today, 1989, Auburn hits that one in the corner of the end zone. Reggie Slack hitting Shane Wasden was a great play, and the emotion and the outburst of noise at Jordan-Hare Stadium. One of our questions of the day, what was the biggest outburst of noise that you've heard at Jordan-Hare Stadium? Andy Graham at that ball game in '89 said that was one that at 13 years old really stood out to me. But the 1989 Auburn Tigers will be honored in Saturday's homecoming game that's between Louisiana Tech today, and that '89 team was outstanding. 3 consecutive SEC titles to close out their tenure.
I just can't get over it's been 25 years. Where in the world? I'm not supposed to be this old. I mean, I remember that season. It was a tremendous season, and we were all, young kids. And, you'd remember the players on that team, and you remember the outcomes. And, remember Florida, Georgia, and Alabama everybody talks about the schedule being tough. Auburn always played Florida, Georgia, Alabama in late October, early November, heading into Amen Corner. And that's when these games were played. And, that game was like down around 8 or 9. And, Auburn had not done anything in that game against Florida. I'm using that one as one that stands out. They had not done anything in that game that stood out offensively. And then Reggie Slack got hot, hit the pass, hit Shane Wasden in the corner of the end zone, and won that game. But so many big games. And then the '89 Iron Bowl, Randy, on December the 2nd. Nobody will ever forget that game. And just a milestone because it was the first time Alabama had ever made a trip to the Plains. And even though Alabama was number 2 in the country, did they really have a chance? Do you really feel like they had a chance? They played well in the game, but now Alabama fans looking back go, man, we didn't really have a chance in that game.
Well, not against that team.
Not against that team, that's right.
It was just all about that team and all about the physicality and all about Reggie Slack and Alexander Wright and those great running backs that were so physical back there for Auburn during that tenure. The offensive and defensive fronts were as good as we've ever had there at Auburn. So it was a great year. If you're going to homecoming today, reminder that the 1989 Auburn Tigers will be honored during homecoming this afternoon. So make sure to get out there, and lots of War Eagles for a great team that won 3 SEC titles. No one or no team or no group of seniors has replaced that, have they, Brett?
No, they have not. I mean, it was Pat Dye's heyday. Look. Just a few little slips every year that kept us from competing for a national championship in those years. But as dominant a defense, we get calls on Sports Call all the time. Auburn fans going, man, I'd love to see those days again where we played that dominant defense. I just don't think football's that way anymore. Football has changed tremendously in the style that it's played and the way it is. You're not going to get 22 to 16 games anymore. You're not going to get 16 to 10 games much anymore. You'll get one every once in a while. But for the most part, these offenses are very talented. They're going to put points up, and defenses just aren't built that way to stop teams like they were back then.
Capsule, Louisiana Tech from Ruston, Louisiana. Skip Holtz is the head coach in his second year. Their defensive coordinator is Manny Diaz. 2013, the record was 4-8. They were 3-5 in the conference. Returning starters 12, 5 on offense, 7 on defense. So far this year, they lost to Oklahoma pretty handily there to open the season, 48-16. Then they get 2 consecutive victories. Defeat Louisiana Lafayette 48-20. Also defeat North Texas 42-21. Lose last week to Northwestern State 30-27. So they're sitting there at 2-2. They'll want to throw the football around this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to talk more about this Louisiana Tech team. But if you took Georgia in the points, you off to a bad start. It's 10-0 Tennessee.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. 30 minutes left on the program. Our prediction today is Arkansas, Texas A&M. Tiebreaker, Kenny Hill passing yards. Back to the phone lines. JC and Tallahassee, you're on Sports Blitz.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Good. How about you, JC?
I'm doing good. Just heard Brett talking about the Georgia, Tennessee going up on Georgia. My question, and I know I'm spoiled being an Auburn fan and seeing the success of Alabama over there, but how much more time does Mark Richt have after if this turns out Tennessee wins?
Yeah, this seat has it's rotted. It didn't burn up. I think Georgia fans decided that it just old and it rotted away. So he'd been there so long now and just hadn't been able to get it done. There's a lot of football left to play, but I just think that Georgia fans are at an impasse. What do you do? I mean, it's kind of like Troy and Blakeney. It's sad to see he got his name on the stadium down there, and he just overstayed his welcome. I think it's gotten away from him. I think that's the way it is with Mark Richt. He's already lost right now. He's already got a loss so far this season. If he loses to Tennessee, this season's shot for Georgia. I don't care what's left on the schedule.
Yeah, well, I guess time will tell.
Yes, it will.
You want to get a prediction in, JC, on the game today?
All right, let's see. It's a neutral site game, but it's at Texas. I think Texas A&M will cover the spread, and I think they'll win probably by 14 to 17. Let's see, probably 38 to 14.
38-14. How many passing yards for Kenny Hill?
260.
All right, JC.
There you go.
Congratulations. You got your prediction in. Good luck to you.
Thank you. I love JRs.
You love JRs. Yes, you do. 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. Get your prediction in on Arkansas and Texas A&M. We talked a little bit about Louisiana Tech. You had a comment there.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech is a team that, I told Andy the other day, I said it's kind of an all-star lineup of coaches, Skip Holtz and Manny Diaz. Manny Diaz was a great defensive coordinator at Mississippi State, and then he went to the land where defensive coordinators die in Austin, Texas. He went right on out there and got fired, just like a lot of them have. Gene Chizik chose to leave, but if you want to look at Gene Chizik's stats as a D coordinator out there, it wasn't because he put up great numbers. It was called Vince Young. That's what won the national championship. Man, they gave up bukus while he was out there. And then you look at what Will Muschamp did at Texas. Now, they were going to make him coach and wait, and they're probably glad they didn't because he's not getting it done in Florida, but they can't figure it out there either. But Will Muschamp's defense gave up a lot of points out there and a lot of different yards. But Louisiana Tech, they got some good coaches is what I'm trying to get to, and they're versatile. Coach Johnson said that this team probably is more versatile than any team that we played up until this point, and they throw it around to like 4 or 5 different receivers, Randy. So I think their leading receiver has 14 catches, and then out behind him, they've got 2 or 3 receivers that have like 10 or 11 catches apiece. So you can't just really focus in on one guy. Auburn really needs to just concentrate on putting points on the board, putting a lot of them on the board early, and doing what they've been doing the last couple of weeks on defense.
This year's offense for Louisiana Tech, 131 yards rushing a game. That's 98th nationally. 256 yards passing, 52nd nationally. They put up 33 points per game, which is 62nd nationally. Defensively, they're right there in the middle. They give up 140 yards rushing a game, 217 yards passing, almost 30 points per game, which is a real scary number if you're a Louisiana Tech fan. That's 94th nationally. We hope our Auburn Tigers on the offensive side of the ball can get back to that strong offensive presence we saw all of last year and the start of this season. Just one tough game on the road on an odd Thursday night matchup against a well-coached Kansas State team. Brett, I know that's the one thing that you're looking most forward to this afternoon is Auburn's offense getting back on track.
I really am, because that's what made us so good last year is keeping people off balance. A lot of teams stacked the box last year, knew we were going to run the ball. We were still successful, still the leading rushing team in the country. And, I think that's where Auburn fans want to get back to. But I do think that you brought up a point that a lot of people have overlooked. You lost the number 2 overall pick in the draft, Greg Robinson. Okay, it's hard to replace that guy. Sean Coleman's doing a great job, but you just don't put another Greg Robinson out there. And I was getting to that. You lost an injury at guard, so Avery Young's really playing out of position. He's not doing a bad job, but he's playing out of position. Patrick Miller probably wouldn't even be playing right now, and he's starting at right tackle. So you lose a guy, it moves everything down, and then you lose a guy to the draft out there. It's just he was a special player. There's no other way to put it. So doesn't mean this line's not good. A lot of talent, got to gel, got to find that chemistry.
Defensively for Auburn, though, it was a great game this past week. Turnovers have been a strength of this Auburn team, picking the football off back there in the secondary. I still think Robinson Threesy's such a integral part to this defense and the playmaking ability that he has. But update on Jermaine Whitehead.
Not going to be on the sideline today, not going to dress out. And Gus Malzahn kind of a shot across the bow at Jimbo Fisher subliminally said there will be no confusion with Jermaine Whitehead today. He will not dress out, and he will not be on the sideline, so we won't have to go back and find out why he put his uniform on like Jameis Winston did. But Jermaine Whitehead, I don't know, Randy. I'm not sure that it wasn't just one incident, but it's been multiple incidents over time that got him to this suspension right now. So hopefully he'll be back on the team. Hopefully he's doing whatever he's got to do to get it corrected, to get back in good graces with his coaching staff.
Two safeties that were on the field for Auburn last week were outstanding. Joshua Holsey, Defensive Player of the Week, had 11 tackles, 10 of those solo. Great to see him out there and playing well. Jonathan Ford, I think, is stepping up and becoming a very big part of this defense, and he's a physical hitter from the safety post. 8 tackles, 7 solo, 1 tackle for loss this past week. I like the way the secondary is coming together. I like the way the secondary, especially out at the corner with Trevon Reed and his physicality and the way that he played the ball when it was in the air this past week. And there's another great feel-good story. And we'll talk about Blake Sims for Alabama. We talked about that in the first hour. It's a feel-good story. We don't talk about the good stories in college football anywhere near as enough as we talk about the negative stories with Jameis Winston and some others. But when you talk about Blake Sims and Trevon Reed, they've hung in there, and they're a great story. And I'm going to continue to cheer as an Auburn Tiger for Trevon Reed to have a great senior season.
Best catch he's made since he's been at Auburn was that interception.
Definitely
no doubt
was.
about it.
And he's been in great coverage so far. So we'd love to hear from you. 800-782-0108. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Clear. For something to say.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Got about 20 minutes left here on the program. 800-782-0108, 256-234-6221.
Yeah, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Prediction out there, Texas A&M and Arkansas. And Kenny Hill passing yards is the tiebreaker. It's a great game. Georgia-Tennessee on. Georgia just closed the gap, 10-7 now. As Hudson Mason ran around left end on a quarterback keeper. So this game will be back and forth. Look, this Tennessee game and Georgia game, even over the last few years, has been a closer game than Georgia would like for it to have been. And Tennessee always plays well in Athens, kind of like Auburn.
1989 team will be honored today at homecoming. And I want to throw a couple of more things out about the 1989 team. And we always weigh ourselves here in the state of Alabama against Alabama. It'll always be this way. I mean, when you and I go out of this world, it'll still be this way.
Of course.
We look across the state. Since 1989, AU leads the series with Alabama 13-12. In the previous 25 years, Alabama had led 17-8. In the last 33 years, since Pat Dye was hired at Auburn, Auburn leads the series 18-15. In the previous 33 years, Alabama had led 23-10. So the significance of this 89 team and the significance of Pat Dye being hired at Auburn and the change of fortune for us Auburn Tiger fans, not to be underestimated as we move into honoring this 1989 team today.
You know that Iron Bowl, Randy, in 89 really, I think in the minds of more Auburn people than anything, it brought Auburn up to an equal level. Because now the great and almighty Alabama Crimson Tide has to come down to Auburn to play a football game. Ever since then, it was Legion Field, and it was he wasn't even being played at Bryant-Denny, and then we go over to Bryant-Denny for the first time later on. So, I mean, I think that's where the games should have been. They should be played on campus. It's a great Iron Bowl. I know that got its nickname by being played in Birmingham, but it is still the Iron Bowl, and I think that 1989 Iron Bowl really kind of brought Auburn to a level, and you've seen in mine in your lifetime, Auburn has been as good or if not better.
256-234-6221, 800-782-0108. We got a lot of phone calls today based around that trivia, or that prediction. The prediction today, Texas A&M and Arkansas, passing yards for Kenny Hill will be the tiebreaker. Can you write the storybook ending that Derek Jeter had at Yankee Stadium any better than we saw this week?
It just sometimes it happens the way it should in sports. And that to me, I'm not a humongous Derek Jeter fan or Yankee fan, but if you're a fan of sports, you love that moment. You love the way it's set up. Sometimes it works out so well that it almost seems scripted, but it wasn't, obviously. But, Michael Jordan making that last shot going out, the way he did against Utah. And then that play there for Derek Jeter getting that hit to win the game, a meaningless game, but it wasn't for him. It wasn't for New York. The greatest players in the games, to me, that's the exit they need. Not to be carried off on a gurney because they mauled their knee, or not because they went out in some controversy of stuff off the field. That's how great players should end their career, the way Derek Jeter ended the other night.
It was a great ending this week, and we know a lot of you have got some comments on that. So if you'd like to call in and talk about it, Derek Jeter closing it out on the road against the Red Sox this week, UCLA on Thursday night, the massacre that they put on number 15 Arizona State.
It wasn't that way early. It was crazy.
Does it tell us more about Brett Hundley and this UCLA team, or more about Arizona State and their lack of defense whatsoever? UCLA closes this thing out in a mauling 62-27 as they went on Thursday night going away.
Terrible special teams and turnovers was the undoing of Arizona State. It was a 17-13 game, Randy, in the second quarter. I mean, one of the things that you look at, 17-13, I turned it off. I gotten disinterested. I said, man, here's UCLA laying an egg once again. And then all of a sudden I flip it back over there, and it's just a blowout. Well, that's what happens when you return a kickoff. You have a punt return. You turn the ball over 2 or 3 times. You get quick scores, and that's what happened. UCLA had not performed, I think, up to the way a lot of people felt like they could perform up to until the other night. But I think that it was a lot of help from Arizona State.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. We tried to stay away from the negatives, but we'll dip into it during our quick hitters here on this segment. NFL having some ups and downs. This past week, I guess all the Roger Goodell story. What do you take from it? And do you think the NFL becomes better and handles situations like this better, especially after the outcry from not only the fan bases, but I think the media has really been the key of this, saying, look, y'all got to get this thing straightened out. Predicaments that happen that you maybe don't think is as big a deal. We do.
Yeah.
So straighten it out before we have to make a martyr of you. And that's what Roger Goodell, if he stays in his job, he's going to be lucky, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I do think the media got it right here. A lot of times they make things into they blow it way out of proportion. But I think some attention needed to be brought to this because now it's like kicking over an ant bed. You know, you walk up to an ant bed and you see one or two and you kick it and they all come out. I think that's what you have. You uncover one incident, and then another one follows, another one follows, another one follows. And look, we found out there was a hidden problem here with guys in NFL. You know, we've been seeing arrests go up. We've talked about that on this program the last 2 years. Arrests in NFL directly correlates to what's going on domestically. So I really feel like one of the things that the media did here was right. And to uncover this, they need to fix this. It's a problem.
800-782-0108, 256-234-6221. Prediction today, Arkansas, Texas A&M. Arkansas at 3-1 versus Texas A&M. AT&T Stadium, 2:30 kick this afternoon. Kenny Hill passing yards will be the tiebreaker, and we'd love to hear from you out there on your thoughts there. Quickly, you've given some thoughts on that game. Give me some quick more. How do you see this game playing out?
Kenny Hill, look, I just think that Texas A&M hits them early. Arkansas's got to not panic. Okay, if they get down 14 points, they got to continue to run the football, try to work their way back in the game. I think Texas A&M, when it's all said and done, wins by a couple touchdowns.
One more segment here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Call on LMG today at 256-825-0197.
Okay, guys, you will have about maybe 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes.
Got about 5 minutes left here on the Sportsbook Saturday Sports Countdown. Quick piece of news that we can pass along out there. Alexander City Sports Foundation. We've got a fundraiser going on. 2 tickets, a pair of tickets to the LSU versus Auburn football game. On October the 4th, we'll have that drawing this Tuesday. We got a couple hundred more tickets up here, $2 per chance that can be bought here at JR Sports Bar and Grill. And again, all the proceeds go to the Alexander City Sports Foundation. So come on out. Let them know that you'd like to get a $2 chance on those pair of tickets to Auburn and LSU that's coming up on October the 4th. It's going to be a great football game. Got another great game today, and we'll close out the program. Talked a lot about Alabama, and let's close out talking about Alabama and Auburn as we normally do. It was an impressive win. If you just now tuning in, Brett and I don't know if we've ever talked as good about Alabama as we talked.
I must be sick. I must have – I don't need to go back and check my temperature.
But I am very – impressed with the offense and the way that they throw the football down the field and the amount of times that they're willing to get the football in their best player's hand. Amari Cooper, if he continues on this streak, don't be surprised if he's not a Heisman Trophy finalist. I think right now he would be right there at the top. I see Marcus Mariota. So many of the national pundits have him at the top. I wouldn't take Mariota over Amari Cooper right now on the Heisman if I had to vote for it. Would you?
Amari Cooper is he is a difference maker for Alabama. He's a security blanket for Blake Sims. And as a quarterback, you love to have a guy like him. And right now for Nick Marshall, it's DeQuil Williams. And, but Amari Cooper last year was kind of non-existent because of an injury. But this year, he's just tearing it up. The best receiver in the country so far through this point in time in the season. So, Alabama, if you're an Alabama fan, don't let your highs get too high and your lows get too low. Don't let your highs get too high on this win with Florida. It's an impressive win, but, there's always a but in there and heard several people and Alabama fans tell me this week. I mean, it is Florida. They're not very good.
I'm not sure when you're going to know. The next 2 weeks for Alabama on the road at Ole Miss on the 4th, then on the road at Arkansas. If you get through there easily, you'll know.
Oh,
I mean, if you don't have
time will tell.
If neither one of those 2 games are close. Texas A&M at home on the 18th is going to be a big matchup here on the western side. This game starts off what is to be a tumultuous couple of weeks there at Auburn, or about 5 or 6 weeks. October the 4th will be LSU. Then on the 11th at Mississippi State, South Carolina at home, and a couple of weeks later on the 25th. This schedule, I'd like to put it up against anybody's in the country.
Well, and I hate to discredit Auburn, but whose schedule in the West isn't that tough? Everybody in the West schedule's about that tough outside of maybe an Eastern team that they come over. We're playing a little bit better Eastern team, but, I mean, maybe we're catching a break with South Carolina being not as good as we thought. But, look, I mean, everybody in the West got to play each other. So all these teams have a tough schedule coming down. And like I said, in reality, you could have everybody with 2 losses in the SEC West, Brandy, by the time the dust settles.
Definitely could. And we talked a lot about high school sports to kick the football or kick the program off this morning, and we're dead in the middle. Next week, most of the state, a lot of the state had off week this week, 11 weeks to play 10. Next week, kicks into region play. Some of the bigger games in the state will begin up next week. We're looking forward to a huge one here in Alexander City as Benjamin Russell will bring in a very good Oxford team. Can't wait for next Friday night.
4 weeks for somebody, for some teams left, 5 for some others. Depends on when you started your season. But it's hard to believe we're in the tail end of the 2014 season already.
Love for you to come out to JR Sports Bar and Grill. Have a great lunch. $6.99 snack wing basket with tea is the special. For Brett Pritchard, I'm Randy Lee saying thanks for tuning in to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Over the years,